Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is create a new document, and here's the size, 1280. It's HD, 1280 by 720. Frame rate's 30 frames per second, and platform type's important to be ActionScript 3.0. Hit create, and now we have our new document. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is get this scene window open. So how do we get our scene window open? We're going to go Window, Scene. Okay, and you can simply add as many scenes as you want. And you can go to scene 1, scene 2, and let's just say I accidentally click a scene and now they look like they're out of order. I can shuffle them around however I want. I could also rename these scenes if I wanted to. I can call this the intro, okay, or whatever. Okay, I'm gonna undo that and just leave it as scene 1. Okay, now, what we're gonna do is we are gonna make a few things happen. Okay, we're gonna make scene 1 stop right at the first frame, and I'm gonna just imagine this is our title, so I'm going to write title here. I'm going to, you're going to make cool graphics for your title page. And once you put that in here in this frame, you are then going to create a new layer, and we're going to write some actions to make it stop here. Because let's just take a little test real quick. We'll go Control Test, and when we test it, you'll see it's actually playing through scene 1, 2, and 3, and that's why it's blinking. It's just going to those other frames. It's going through these scenes, and each scene only has 1 frame, so it plays really fast. So I'm going to click here, right-click, and open the Actions window, and we're going to simply write our first code. We're going to say stop, and you put parentheses like this and a semicolon at the end. Now when we push Control Test, look, it stops on that very first frame where the actions are. Great. Now we're going to make a button that will play it, and we're going to do that by creating a new layer, okay? And then we are going to create any kind of graphic we want for a button, and you should maybe make something in Photoshop, make something in here, but I'm just doing this tutorial to make it quick. I'm going to do a rectangle, and you select it. Whatever you put here, you're going to drag around it, select it, and go Modify, Convert to Symbol, and make sure we select Button. Other times we definitely want a movie clip or a graphic, but right now we want button. And I'm going to name it here button and start button. But now watch, you have to do this. You're going to hit OK, and then immediately in the properties window, you have to have this properties window open. You go to the instance name, and we're going to give it a name. I'm going to call it button start, and that's important. Okay? Because now we're going to write a new line of code to make this thing do something. So for example, if I go Control Test, nothing happens with this button yet. Nothing. I'm clicking it, nothing happens. But we're going to write some code. So let's go back here, open up this Actions window again. And we're going to write a new line of code. And something's going to happen. And if it doesn't happen for your Actions window, then I'll manually type it. But we're going to say this. We're going to say button start, and that's why it was important to rename it, because that's the name of the button we just created. We're going to do what is known as add event listener. Okay, and you have to pay attention to capitalization. So the E and the L are capitalized, and then we put parentheses, and these are built-in events that Animate has, and you have to capitalize click. And now we're going to make our function, whatever we want to name it. I'm going to call it go function, okay? And just to kind of hammer home what we're doing here. And now we write the function. We're going to say function, and we just named it go function because it's going to go to, okay, it's going to go to the next frame. And we're going to say event. You have to put in here what we're actually, what kind of, what's causing this to actually take place, what's calling this function to actually happen. And when I hit enter, this line appeared for me magically, okay? And if it doesn't do that for you, you have to simply type this in at the top. This tells Adobe Animate to, hey, now you could listen to mouse events. If we didn't put this line in here, it wouldn't have that ability. So I put the parentheses here, hit enter, and I'm going to put an open and a close curly bracket. Okay? Now, if you feel like you're getting lost as I'm going along, just really study this typing, and you'll be fine. So we're going to say, now we're going to say go to and play to. It's going to go to play the second frame. There isn't a second frame, so it's just going to jump. It's going to go right to scene 2 and play through scene 2. Then it'll play through scene 3, and then it'll loop all the way back to this frame. Watch, you'll see what I mean. So we're going to go Control Test, and it stops. And when I click it, it plays, and it just loops through and gets back. So if you don't quite understand what's going on, I'm going to help that out a little bit. I'm going to go to scene 2, and I'm just going to make anything happen. I'm just going to make this square go across the page. So I'm going to just do something that, you know, I'll get rid of later, but just for demonstration purposes, I'm going to move this block across the stage. Okay, now when I go back to scene 1 and test it, you'll see that it stops here. When I click, it plays and then gets all the way back. It loops through scene 3 and gets back to scene 1. So if I wanted to like just put a few random, you know, just a squiggly there, you'll see that it's going to be there for like a half a second, and then it'll get back to frame 1. Okay, so boom. Okay, and so you could see how you could start organizing your animation with scenes, and we can add this stop function and a button into every scene if we wanted to. We could organize it that way if we'd like. Okay, so go ahead and have fun coding and making your animation setup, and have fun. Okay.